Good morning. You guys gonna make me happy today?
Of course.
I was on the hot sheet yesterday. Well, how did you see? One contract. It was 9 yesterday? Yeah, one contract. Okay. I want you to know we can still sell houses. And there's lots of people that need houses, but they're having challenges. What kind of challenges are they having? Yeah, they're just, people are lost. And we just have to be patient and help them through. We're going to show you some things to do about that today because people are scared and lost. Right? It's right. But this is all dead air for everybody online, so I can't just have these conversations. We'll do it at the other meeting. Okay, get my agenda. I usually load people in. All right, let's start with a spiritual opening passage, if you will. Spirituality means you are present to the unseen forces at work in your life. Do you realize it's been a month since Helene hit? Over a month. Helene was a disaster was scary, right? We lost, yeah, everybody's messed up. So empathy is an important word for what we're going through now. So if you're present to the unseen forces at work in your life, this was an unseen force, right? But we're present with it. What has happened over the last, how long have you been in Florida? Since 2009. So what's that? 20 years? 17 years? 16 years. Right? How many hurricanes have you been through like this? None. Right. Here.
Nobody here has.
Nobody here has.
Nobody that lives here now has been through anything like this.
So it's an unseen force. We just have to deal with it, address it, and get through it. You know, a lot of people are living in RVs. A lot of people are taken into strangers' houses and guest houses and children's houses, and parents are living with kids, and kids are looking, and they're looking, right? And then we have to be in Tampa Bay, which has a whole bunch of amazing opportunities every day, and people are sidetracked and scared. So there's what do you do when you get scared?
Freeze.
You freeze. So people are freezing right now. No, that's just what we're gonna have to deal with. We have to be aware of that.
Well, I think fear causes everybody to freeze, but what are they really looking for right now?
Comfort.
Comfort, guidance, and some type of certainty. And that's what we need to provide to give them that comfort, that guidance, and a certainty just to take the first step. So too many of us are worried that we don't have all the answers, and I can't advise them through everything, and I don't know what to tell them about this, because once I tell them this, they're going to ask that. That's really not what we need to be very concerned with right now. Our concern needs to be, how do we provide comfort, guidance, and certainty to let them take that first step? Because if they sit where they're at for too long, the fear gets too big, they get more paralyzed, and then they make a decision that they probably shouldn't have made.
Yeah. I mean, as little damage as I had, I'm still cleaning up. It's just when I get a chance, I go out and I do a little more, and I do a little more, and I do a little more, and I cut back some more stuff, and trash is everywhere. It's everything is everywhere. All right, Miss Megan, you got a class for us coming up on Halloween, don't you?
I do, yeah. Thursday morning, we have our CE credits that were rescheduled. We have had quite a bit of agents that registered over the weekend. I'll resend out the link today, so it'll be your last chance to register for this. It is a 2-hour CE credit class, so it's super important. And then I have a couple more things. The class in December is going to be another Q&A with title. But we're going to do it a bit different this year. I'm going to send out an email with some questions or comments for you to ask questions so we can have your questions on the presentation this year. So we're going to end the year with doing the questions answered by our attorney. So you'll see that email come from me. So if you have any questions or if you have any scenarios you want to go over, please just respond back to me so we can have that presentation prepared. Our attorney's not going to be on the call. I'm hoping I can get him on the call. But that's why we ask, that we have these prepared in advance so we can have him answer them. And then the last thing is a very big happy birthday to Miss Kathy McKinnon in the Beaches.
I was thinking about that on the way in. Kathy came with the company when we bought Indian Rocks Beach in 1998. She just came with it. It was like included in the purchase. And 1998 was 28 years ago, 27 years ago. That's a long time. Most companies don't have people stick around that long. And most people don't stick around with their people that long. So Kathy,
No.
you're a wonderful employee, great friend, and a long-term friend.
Yes, she
Yeah.
is.
So if you want to know what happens in the Beggins family, ask Kathy, because she hangs out with you. She's
But you
got all
guys
the,
have a great week, and I'll see you on Thursday for our CE credits bright and early.
all right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Happy early Thanksgiving. Okay, some things about this. Mike, Puma, give us a 2 to 3 minute update on what Sochi is. Because this is really cool.
Yeah,
And if
so
you
a
guys-
lot of you have already signed up, but there's definitely quite a bit that have not. And if you have not, I'm going to put the link in the chat now for you to be able to sign up. So let me do that while I'm thinking about it. So you can follow that link right there if you want to sign up. But basically, it does a lot of things. And I'll let Tracy talk to kind of how she's using it. But it is essentially your social media on autopilot. And so for those of you that are either not posting regularly on social or are only posting regularly on one platform, which is a lot of you, this is going to give you the ability to actually post on all the platforms with literally one click of a button or without even thinking about it, because all the daily post content, all your listing content, all the content that gets created by Moxie, all of that gets automatically pushed and then pushed out to literally every channel that you connect to it without you even thinking about it. So it can be as much on autopilot as you want it to be. So it's essentially like having your own social media manager. Instead of paying them a salary, though, you're paying $55 a month, and that's it. And it literally puts it on autopilot. Plus, there's some things that we can do on there that we can't do for everybody. So Jimmy and I have created, and we are continuing to create some exclusive series of content for sale by owners, absentee owners, all sorts of different things that we can create on there so that you can subscribe to those things if they are fit for your business. And we're going to continue to put those series of content out there. So it's just the option to have a lot of content going out without you having to do a whole lot of the legwork. So it's a great platform, and I know Tracy's been using it kind of in a variety of ways, so I'll let her talk to that.
Let me ask you one blind question. What is the biggest problem people have with social media? Lack of
Content, lack of creativity, and lack of time.
and
Those
consistency.
are kind of the big reasons why you see most people won't post consistently.
So consistency is the thing that makes it matter, because as people start recognizing it pops up, and if you're not taking advantage of that, you're missing the whole opportunity of social. So why even waste your time? I choose not to waste my time on that. That's not what I do. But if you guys are going to use social, use it right. And if you can find an automated way to do it, it makes all the sense. Tracy, how are you using it? Because you were pretty proud of it.
Yeah, excuse me. I
That's the background.
losing my voice. I logged on or jumped on Associate as soon as I had the opportunity, because quite honestly, I was only using Facebook, and that's not enough. You need to use Twitter, you need to use LinkedIn, you need to use Instagram. And Sochi takes care of the one post and puts it out to all four of them. I think you can also link up TikTok if you have it. I think there's 5 that you can link up to on there. My LinkedIn sat dormant until I started using Sochi, and now out of the blue, I'm getting responses. I'm getting people responding to it. I'm getting emails from it. Hasn't gotten me business yet, but I've only been using it for a few weeks. So what I do, in addition to all the automated stuff, is that I create a schedule that I go in and do. I write a blog post Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I make a blog post about what's happening in the real estate market, either new sales, new listings, new what. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I write blog posts about things that are happening in the Keys. There's an event here, there's a history event there. I use Chat GPT to come up with content, because tell me, Chat can make content based on any post you want. After I write that blog post, I go to Sochi and I tell Sochi, here's the blog post, send it out to everybody. And what that does is it helps drive traffic back to my website, because that's where I'm posting the blog, is on tracylarsonrealtor.com. And I'm hoping that this will generate traffic back to my website, which will generate business for me. So that's how I'm using it. Rather than try to write that post on 4 different things, I write it in one place, and then I have Sochi go out and tell LinkedIn to go look at this post, go look at this post, go look at that. And it's very new in its infancy, because I've only been doing it for a few weeks, but I'm already seeing some results. So I'm excited.
I think it's cool. If you're going to do it, do it
Awesome.
right. Right.
And
It's-
I just want to add something real quick to this. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Tracy. Finish up. I'm
It's
sorry.
worth every dime. It really is. I mean, yes, could you do this manually? Sure, of course you could. Do you have the time to sit there and write the same thing 4 times every day? No.
And you do it all on Monday and it goes out for the rest of the week, right?
I do a post every day.
Okay.
I put something on my blog every day because if you're going to blog, you have to blog every day. Blogging and farming are, to me, they're the same. They have to be consistent.
Agreed.
And the only thing I really want to add to Soci also, well, one, we've been talking about visibility trumps ability. So if you're wanting to play that game and you're not using a system like this to stay in front of people, I wouldn't expect business right off the bat, but I would expect people to be like, man, you're busy, and they start thinking about you when it's time. But one of the other things that I love, I think they both hit some fantastic things with Soci, but I think one of the things that I like even more is it's one platform to do all of it. And as you're getting all those comments, there's an app available. You don't have to log into each one like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. You can actually respond directly from the app and just go through all of those conversations, because that's really where the rubber meets the road, is having some of those conversations and responding to the message that are going through to really stay top of mind. But it's one app that does it all, which is pretty fantastic. So that's my spiel.
I like it. So once again, the
And
numbers,
one more quick thing, Craig. It's a listing tool. It is another tool, just like Zillow showcase, that you can have in your toolbox to get that full 3%. Because now you have something that you could literally show them that says, hey, not only am I marketing this, but many of our agents have this tool, and any of my listings that are in their zip codes are going out. Now we're gaining exposure, massive exposure for your property. Right. And that is a sales pitch that you can just have. And that alone, for a lot of you that have a lot of listings, that alone could be worth it. Right. You get one deal to go from 2.5% to 3%, and you've paid more than Soci for the entire year. Right. So just think about it that way too.
When you guys first launched Soci and started hitting the social media sites, I thought Mike Puma was the biggest listing agent in the country. I mean, really. And all Facebook, Mike's got this, Mike produced this. I'm like, damn, Mike's busy. But that's what it can make you look like.
Power of it for sure.
very cool. All right. Thank you for that. Guys, there's no kickback to us. We have to make no money on this. This is nothing but to support you. But Mike has done an incredible job negotiating. He actually brought Century 21 into the mix, who got Moxie into the mix, because it was not tied with Moxie. So she was not designed for what we're using it for. But they rebuilt it based on Mike's recommendations. So kudos to Mike Puma. Jennifer, you had some cool ideas about how to leverage Halloween to make ourselves top of mind.
Good morning. I love sushi also. It's the best thing since sliced bread, in my opinion. But to stay on the subject of staying visible during the holiday season, everyone slows down and they're spending time traveling and with family and friends. But we were talking this week how to stay visual and how to stay top of mind. Holidays are the best, in my opinion, because we were in regards to Halloween. What do the kids do on Halloween night? They knock on doors, right? And beg, trick or treat for candy. As agents, why can't we do that? Why? Because we become adults and we're not fearless anymore like kids, right? So if you could knock on a door, as Mike Puma made this analogy, if you are a kid knocking on the door for candy, for just candy, as an adult, assume every door is worth 10 grand. Would that make you go knock on doors? Okay, so if you don't want to knock on doors, you can do the next best thing. You can actually give candy out with your logo and or make bags or something like that. I'm going to post a link in the chat. It's called growmylistings.com. So just so you don't creating content, growmylistings.com has all the content for you. You can actually order through them, or you can do it yourself. Take the idea and then go make the little goodie bag or whatever. So I have these little boxes that says, not listing your house with me would be a grave mistake, right? So I'll be dumping these in all of the kids' bags that come knock on my door. And I'm gonna make sure and put a very, very nice something in there so that it's
no cheap candy.
That's
No
right.
cheap
That's right.
This card.
First impressions. Anyway, so and you can do that for Halloween, you can do it for Thanksgiving, you can do it for Christmas. all the other Kwanzaa, anything that you celebrate between now and next year. It's called growmylistings.com. Here's the link, and have fun. Stay visual, stay there, stay out there, stay in everyone's faces.
I commented on that yesterday. It might be a day late and $1 short because Halloween's Thursday, but it's not. You can go to the dollar store right now and buy little plastic bags.
Right.
And put some candy, put a business card, put a little bow around it, and you dog treats. Cool.
This is
Stay
just a great
visual.
opportunity now during the holidays to reach out and talk to people too. Like adding all this together, it just gives you a reason.
Well,
to
we want to
stay
get back
top
to
of
some
mind.
sort of normalcy, right?
Yeah.
So maybe don't go door knocking in the neighborhoods that are all flooded because nobody's living there. Take advantage of the non-flooded homes. Cool. Okay. All right. Open mic time. We're doing this Mondays at 9:45. And the concept is for you guys to just bring open questions that you want to chat about. And so far, in my opinion, there's not a lot of comments coming from you guys. So we're end up just talking about different things. But I want you to think about things like what's going on with interest rates? How do I advise consumers on insurance? What is all this stuff about the 50% rule, which we're going to talk about in a minute? And, do I need to disclose this? I have a lot of disclosure issues coming up. Yeah, oof, scary. We'll get into it. Feel free to submit questions in advance. If some of you don't want to talk on the microphone, we get it. Just send us a question in advance, put it in the chat, or in advance, and we'll have answers for you. But it really is a two-way communication. It's you asking us and us answering your question, right? It's just little extra things. Just some news in the news. No more emailing the C21 help desk. Our company is one of the biggest users of email for asking the help desk questions about I lost my password, all this other stuff. Now you have to go through a portal. Jimmy's going to talk about that.
It's super easy. How many people have had to forgot their password or their two-factor authorization isn't working, or possibly the code didn't get sent to you and there's a little hiccup? Has anybody had that issue? Okay, I got one. Anybody raise a hands online? Okay, two,
Sure.
three. Okay, there should be a lot of you because you all call me. But this is the deal. They have an email address that if you try to send something to support@century21.com, that's going to come back and say nobody's looking at this anymore. Okay, so do not directly email them. There is a portal. When you go to 21 Online, this will be the tip of the week that I'll send out this week just to show you. If you're having password issues, you're not getting a code, there's a number at the bottom of Century 21 Online that says help desk number. Call that if you need help with your password or the two-factor authorization. Anything else needs to go through a support section where you fill out basically you're filling out a little form to say what is the issue that you're having. That's it. No more emailing. So if you're trying to get something taken care of and you send an email to support@century21.com, trying to get into Moxie or any of that stuff, or Dash or any of that stuff, no one's going to answer. I'm sorry. Someone's knocking, but no one's answering. So
Just
call the number or put the ticket in.
Perfect. There's a new hurricane disclosure. Jennifer found it. They used it for Ian back in 2022. Anyway, that's good disclosure. So we're having that made up for us. I'll share it with you guys in a little bit here. The FEMA disclosure is in .loop now. That's required in all contracts. So we'll cover that in previous classes. We'll see it again. Remember FF and GG. It's a little easy to forget because it's not in the A, B, C, D checkboxes. You got to write in other FF or GG. And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but FF is if you don't have a compensation agreement, right? And GG is if you want to get extra added onto your compensation agreement, right? It's much
Yeah.
better to use.
GG is if you have a compensation agreement and you want to negotiate it, or you want to include a compensation agreement as part of the contract. That's
Right.
what GG.
Okay.
FF is if you're requesting a credit from the seller to cover compensation, and you can use that even if you have a compensation agreement
Yeah.
in place. So basically, no longer writing in additional terms, seller to credit buyer for buyer compensation, buyer agent compensation. You're going to use FF or GG to accomplish that same task. If you have questions, just reach out and let us know. We're still getting a lot of questions on that, so we'll still keep talking about it.
I had an agent call me on Saturday, and I will pick on the company. It's La Rosa Realty. And we asked them for a compensation agreement. They said, what are you talking about? It's in the MLS. Somebody chatted in early, folder were they living under? That's still out there.
We've sent in an addendum FF asking the seller to credit the buyer this amount to be used as buyer broker compensation. And we've had a company come and tell us, my brokerage won't allow this form. It's approved by Florida Association of Realtors and the Florida Bar to attach to the contract. Why would we want to write our own verbiage in there that won't even come close to covering all of the things that they've already thought of? Use the correct forms.
Yes. Thank you on that. Paragraph 10D is talk about flood insurance. We kind of skip it over. It's on the critical date timeline as a reminder. But now with all this flooding going on, it's important because you have an automatic 20-day contingency, automatic out for your buyer under paragraph 10D. And any reason whatsoever. So-
If the property is in a special flood determination, which
Yes.
is anything other than X, basically, if any of the listings that your buyer is buying or any of your listings that you're selling is in a special flood determination, the contract automatically goes to a 20-day default if left blank, that if your buyer does not like anything about what they find out about that special flood determination, I'm paraphrasing it, they have the ability to cancel because it's in a special flood determination within that 20 days.
So what would a good idea be to do?
Fill in the blank.
If you're well, number one, fill in the blank so it's not blank, so it's 100% clear. Number two, if you're a buyer, extend that period for as long as you can. Maybe even match it to the closing date if the listing agent doesn't catch it and doesn't call it out, so that you have more protection just in case. Or if you're a seller, shorten that period to match your inspection period so that, no, I'm not playing that game with you. You figure out all of your due diligence during your due diligence period, during your inspection period, not afterwards.
But that's smart for us to know about and keep an eye on. So by filling in the blanks and not just letting it 20 days by default, if left blank, fill it in, and you'll be much more cognizant and use the critical date timeline, right? It's on there for a purpose to keep everybody on track. 10D, paragraph 10, letter D. Okay, jump to my inbox. Can we get there? Okay, cool. All right, number one, blue star at the top. This is a result of Jeff's class yesterday. Jeff and I talked about, that was good shit, right? We had customers on there that are freaking out, but they're glad to know now because they really could lose a lot of the money they spent. So Angelique put this together and she put a recording below it of the class. Send that to your customers. If you have customers that are freaking out, they're doing things you know they shouldn't be doing. This is real. Immediate steps. Arrange a certified appraiser. What happens was I went online and looked last night. A lot of the houses, at least around this area, people have lived in them for a long time. So what happens to their market value? Well, their assessed value stays capped and the market value is kind of tied to assessed value. So we made an example out of, on the training class yesterday, Brian D's house. I think it was assessed at $553. It's easily an $800,000, $900,000 house. And it said his land value was 179, 279.
It was like 259.
259. So he's probably not going to have enough damage to exceed the 50% rule. So not everybody's going to exceed it. But when you get into these older homes, like the 1960s that are built lower or lower on the grade, or if they've had recent repetitive flooding, FEMA is not looking forward to funding those exercises. So people are rushing around going to Home Depot buying drywall and they might have to rip it out. But if you have a certified appraiser, they'll actually give you the real value. So Brian's house was really $900,000 pre-storm. And then the lot's 300. Now he's got a $600,000 house. 50% of that is 300. That's a lot more. He's not going to spend $300,000 on that house. Right. So people shouldn't have to be freaking out, but they have to be knowledgeable. And that's our job, is to be the calming force, right? Seek local building department guidance. Jessica, my daughter, called City of Tampa and found out all kinds of rules that are in City of Tampa. So every city, every different municipality, every different county has different rules. So you can't quote just one set of rules because it's not the same for every other place. Explore mortgage options. Call the lender and ask for forbearance. A lot of them are given them, some are not. Recognize FEMA's in control. FEMA moved in and said, county, shut up. Sit in the corner. We're going to take care of this now. It's our money. We're taking care of it. So a couple things about forbearance. Okay. Susan's saying that the forbearance has different options. So the simplest option is they take 90 days off and add it to the end. Some just take you 90 days and they balloon it in 90 days. So you got to know what your forbearance is actually saying. Or they put it on your credit that you're in forbearance. Right. Right. And if they put it on your credit, that's going to affect your limited abilities. Obtain necessary permits. That's what everybody's not doing now. They're going to Home Depot, they're buying drywall, they're throwing it up, and that's not right. Rebuilding and repair actions. Avoid self-funded major repairs. Because you don't know you're getting paid back, right? Just because you got a 250 flood policy, if the flood insurance assessor determines that there was $250,000 worth of flood damage, you're not getting 250.
That's a common thing that I've been hearing a lot. People just say, well, I've got a $250,000 policy, so I'll have $250,000. I'm like,
If there's only $80,000 worth of flood damage, you're getting a check for $80,000. So don't go buying expensive granite and new fancy floors until you find out what you're, and when are you going to find that out? You gonna make a call today and get an answer tomorrow? Why? How many adjusters are there?
well, you also have to consider that both flood and homeowners are doing the finger pointing game.
That's right.
So we had 2 storms in a matter of a few weeks. So one flood is going to say, well, yeah, that's flood damage, but I don't think that was, so we're not covering that. And then your hurricane insurance is going to say, your homeowner's insurance is going to say, well, no, that was damaged by flood. That wasn't from that. So we're not covering that. And if you don't have proper documentation, it's the finger pointing game, and you could end up with nothing if you're not able to provide that, which is why we have resources, appraisers, public adjusters, insurance advisors, people like that we're bringing up.
And that's your job to deliver that message. So you got to be aware of it. Avoid real estate transactions without due diligence. This is scary. So for the buyers that think they're getting a deal, they're buying a house and they can just go in there, put new drywall and new flooring, and they got a steal on it. They could very well be shell shocked at the end and have bought a tear down and they don't know it. So it's a very risky situation. What are you doing, baby? This is Dixie, everybody. You pretty girl, right? So that's a really risky thing. So we're selling as-is contracts. So what happens with an as-is contract at closing? You buy it. Problems and all. So be very wary if you've got unsophisticated investors. An agent came to me yesterday, says, I've got 2 waterfront listings put up. They both flooded. I said, don't even waste your time. Nobody should be buying them right now because they don't know what they're buying. Right. And I hate to be that way, but we have to protect the public. That's our job.
Well, you have the buyer in their as-is contract, making sure that they do due diligence, but the seller, when they sign a contract, what does the contract say? The contract says that the seller has disclosed everything they know about the property and acknowledges that by signing this contract. So they're actually acknowledging that they've disclosed all of the things that they know, floods, flood payouts, all of that stuff. And if they haven't disclosed that, all of a sudden they could be liable.
What if the seller filed for the insurance claim and the investor buys the house and didn't take an assignment of benefits?
And didn't know that there was an insurance
And the
claim
seller's
paid
going
out.
to sell his house and get the insurance benefit, and the investor's going to be stuck with a house that has no insurance and may not be insurable again because it's now a repetitive flood property. Yeah. Yep. Those things are all happening. Ensure compliance with FEMA rules. That's the golden rule. Avoid real estate transactions without due diligence. We said that. Consider elevation for rebuilds. I hear a lot of people saying, well, let's just raise the house up. Number one, we don't know anybody who does that reasonably. The price of doing it is about the same as building a new house. And then we end up having built up an old house where you could have a brand new house. So why do that? Community education, educate neighbors and buyers on FEMA regulations and follow up FEMA updates and share the information. This is great content for you to post out. Jeff has become a rock star in the Gulf beaches with all of the content he's been putting. He's added hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of followers, right? And it will result in this company getting business, which is kind of cool. But he's doing it consistently. He's doing town hall meetings. He's doing all that type of stuff. You guys can all do that, even in your farm, right? I'm probably going to volunteer at my HOA to give a talk because we're blessed. You know, I'm doing research now because we're going to open up Hammock Bay at the end of November 11th. We have a date now. The Symphony Isles roads are at 7 feet. They flooded. The roads in Hammock Bay are being 9 feet. They would not have flooded in this event. The Symphony Isles seawalls are at 6 feet. The Hammock Bays are going to be at 8 feet. So it's a whole different, sitting my foot, whole different world of what we can do. So when you, like my neighborhood did not flood. We're post firm flood insurance rate map. Not one house got water in it. They got water in their garages, but nothing in the house. Go outside the gate, trash and furniture and everything's all over the place. They all flooded, right? So FEMA wants to make that happen. They want you to build up so your houses don't flood. So they're not going to fund the repairs for the older houses that are. Mhm. Yeah, you have a customer.
So I got a customer yesterday and he had FEMA came by and they told him substantial damage. So, and he's wanting to rebuild. Well, when I did the 50% rule, he's got $58,000 to rebuild. There's no way. It's not going to happen.
He could possibly get an appraiser and get a little bit more than that,
Hmm.
but $58,000 does not go a long way when you go.
No,
like,
it's only
cabinets,
1,000 square
countertops,
foot
appliances.
house, but on a small lot in St. Pete. So, he's like, well, what do I do? And I said, well, let's just hold off and let's see what happens with everything before you
Yeah.
make a decision.
Do you
So,
want to take the asset and market it right now? It's going to cost you money for lockbox. It costs you money for photographs. It's going to cost you money for Zillow if you do the Zillow token. And there's not a buyer for it. Some will go into contract or they'll lowball you, but that's just where we are now. So focus your efforts on houses that are not. Help the people that need help and focus your efforts on real estate that can be sold. Okay, and then there's a video of the class we did right below that. Next one. Mandy says, my go-to appraiser said he and most of them don't know how to do the FEMA appraisals you guys are talking about because they've never done them. So I'm wondering if we have a list of a couple to refer to us. The list that we have going in the Palm Beach office, are they known to do building appraisal on these?
Yeah, I'll double check with that. I'll give them a call today. And if I get a satisfactory answer, I'll send those out because we've got a list of a few over here that have been around for over 20 years. And they're very reputable companies that have been around in other states as well for a long time. So I'll get that answer and send it out.
Cool.
And I put one in the chat as well. That's the one that Jeff has worked with. It's Linwood Gilbert from Urban Realty Solutions, and they have been in the business 40 years, and they do have experience with that. And he asked that you email it. I'll add his prices as well.
What are they about? Do you remember? I'm thinking 700 and 900-ish. You're muted.
Sorry, 1 second. They are up to 1,500 square feet, 750, 1,500 to 25, 1,000, 2,500 and above, 1,250, above 3,500 square feet. It's based on the complexity of what he has to do.
Right. Wow. Still, it'll be the. Okay. Thank you so much. You're welcome. All right.
Yeah, we'll get that info.
Click on the Amber one worksheet. Download that real quick. We're not going to spend time on it. There's this Hillsborough County has a substantial damage improvement guide. And it goes through all these rules and it's like 9 pages long and it's got all this stuff. It's a great resource. So if you want to find something cool, check your municipality. I'm sure Tampa has one, I'm sure Pinellas has one, but it just goes through like here, I didn't know. Add 20%. So the building market value from Hillsborough County Property Appraiser's website must use the depreciated value of the building. Add 20% to the building market value or leave it blank if you're using a certified appraisal. They know their assessed values are low, so they're giving you a 20% bump. We didn't know that, right? So this is a good resource. So find it in your municipality and use that as a resource to share as well. Okay, that was it on that one. We did Megan already. Google Alerts. Chris, you can just do, well, we'll do the Apollo Beach meeting. This is the Observer News is doing a story on us being the head for Toys for Tots, which is a big event coming up soon. Jimmy's tip of the week about Sochi. I think we covered Sochi enough today. There's things I had my thing. The newsletter article. Jimmy's showing you how to use it. The next one down is actually Chris's. I'm kind of honored when you guys send out my articles. I think it's cool. And Sammy does an amazing job of making these look good. It was so good. I mean, they were good when they were text, like a letter, but Sammy just goes above and beyond and makes it flashy and it's pretty cool.
I had 3 people reply to this that I never talked to. They're just in my Moxie somewhere asking questions of me like I was their insurance company. One of them said, I have not heard from my claims adjuster yet. When should I expect that? Yeah. Like I've had a couple people that were questions like that just from sending that out.
I had a lot of people just write me back and say, hey, great article, great article. Because they're seeing it. And some are reading it, some are not. But if they're not reading it, what are they doing? They're seeing you, right? And they're thinking about you. So that's cool. Next. I think that's it for today. Yeah, that's it. Stop share. Oh, yeah, there you go. Birthdays. What time? We're a little bit late. Diane Boo Miller was yesterday. Kim Guillory was yesterday. And Veronica Ahud was yesterday. And Rachel Yanello was yesterday. Today is Bertha Moreno from Sun City Center. Dick Wilson. Happy birthday, Dick. 29th of October. Kathy McKinnon. We already talked about her. Rock star, 27 years with the company. Tomorrow we got Danielle Salgado and Kevin Davis and Shannon Levine. And then on Halloween babies, we got Raquel Arredondo and Mitzi York. And then November 1st, we have Diane Taylor from Madeira Beach and Luciana Sacone from South Florida. Okay, and that's it. So
2025 came out, by the way, for this.
did it?
Yeah, it hadn't changed.
It had changed again?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Guys, we're in for a pinch. And I'm not trying to scare you. Don't expect a stellar rocket market next year, right? They're predicting less than 4 million home sales right now. That's when we were doing 6 million, 2 million fewer home sales. We break it down. 2 million divided by 50 states is what? 100,000 a state. Break it down by 67 counties. It's not that much, but it's still, it's a third drop in sales.
How many did we have this year?
Uh,
So far, they keep seasonally adjusting based on all these events. The last seasonal adjustment I saw was like 3.8 million by the end of the year, they're expecting 3.8. Okay, so what does that mean for you next year? How many
we're
here
gonna do the
had,
same thing next year as we're gonna do this year.
how many here are online had a good year so far? Decent year as far as sales. And you wouldn't mind if you had that same kind of year next year, but you're going to work to improve it. I would say there's a good portion of us that have had a really good year so far this year, and there's 3.8 million home sales. So the number of sales that happens in the country doesn't depict what your business is going to look like.
Correct.
You decide how much that business is, you go out and get it. The more visible you are, the more opportunities you get. The more opportunities you get, the more listings, the more buyers, the more compensation you're able to receive.
Right.
So just because there's going to be 3.8 million home sales instead of 6, doesn't matter, because most of us had a pretty decent year this year already. So just get out and do the same things, if not more, if you want more, and you'll create more.
That's it. So we create our destiny. Now also think about, I know it's hard. A lot of you that are in damaged areas, your listings are not going to sell. Your contracts are not going to close. That income is not going to come yet, but it will when things stabilize. So don't ignore people now. If you ignore them during the crisis time, they're going to ignore you during the good times. So we can't step over anybody, step over no one at any time. Take care of everybody, but don't expect instant gratification. You'll get gratification. It'll just come at a later point in time, right? But also at the same time, focus on the business that can close. That's what we really need to do. All right. So you're not done. We've got the rest of November and probably a little bit of December to get close deals on the books. So you should know from your manager or your regional president where you stand and how much more do you need? Do you know where you stand now? Where do you stand? A little above Masters Ruby. So you got that one in the bag. You're going to stretch for Emerald or? Mm-hmm. Then how many pending contracts do you have? How many pending contracts do you have? 3 pending. How many are going to close? 3. Awesome. New homes are going to be the key ticket. Most of the new home communities, what do? They
Offered myself, my buyer, $37,000.
yeah. So the builders are offering discounts and deep cuts, $37,000 credit at South Shore, 4.8% interest and a $37,000 credit. All right. So that's all I got for today. Thank you everybody for your time. And we will see you throughout the week.